Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Masked Man, and I'm gonna be very real with y'all right now. I'm in a good mood. I'm a very simplistic guy. Just had a great burger, so I'm feeling amazing. I would apologize to the vegan viewers, but no, that burger was good. Anyways, today we're gonna talk about Jagaaaaaan. So this little manga right here, Jagaaaaaan, is about 100 and so chapters. If you want to know how to spell it, it's Jagaaaaaan, Jag, 6 A's and an N. If there was a way to really explain the style of Jagaaaaaan as well as the overall feeling of the manga, is it truly feels like the love child of Parasite and Gantz. And the funny thing about that is even in the manga, they do a reference to Parasite, even going as far as to bring up the Parasite's name. For those of you that haven't seen my thoughts on Parasite or Gantz, I think those are both great series. Gantz that had a little bit of a shake when it comes to its narrative and plot being quite messy. Parasite, on the other hand, is one of my favorite mangas of all time personally, and I rank it very highly. But before I get into the actual praises of the manga, I will say the overall plot pretty much consists of this cop who we notice kind of lives a fake lifestyle, one bound by, well, himself. There are urges he has, desires that he wishes to act upon, but he doesn't. He wants to break away from this routine, repetitive schedule that he constantly has, living a normal life, feeling kind of chained down by it. Luckily for him, all of these frogs, don't look, I know I lost some of y'all, just stick with me. And then a bunch of frogs start coming from the sky, and then they jump inside of people, and they turn those people into what's called fractured humans or monsters. And essentially these fractured humans are, their desires manifest and transform them into monsters. Now, himself, he is also a fractured human, but he's not one completely. He's like half fractured, and so he can use the power of the monster without fully becoming one. Now, I do want to say this. The premise, or the idea of the premise, the protagonist using the power of the enemy against the enemy, isn't something new. We've seen this many times before, and there are certain things that Jagaaaaaan does that is very typical of certain seinen mangas. I only bring that up because I know some people like to use that to discredit certain mangas by saying, oh, I've seen this before. But yeah, there's no issue with that inherently if the manga is able to do it in its own way, and as long as it executes it greatly, I don't have an issue with it. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, this is pretty much, if I had to describe it, it's the love child of Parasite and Gantz. And I think Jagaaaaaan kind of takes the best that both of those mangas have to offer and really puts it in there. Jagaaaaaan covers a lot of themes that really make you look at yourself as a human being, and I always love that in a manga. And it does it in a way to where you can't mask under certain hypocrisies, because certain characters, they like to mask behind this whole thing where they lie to themselves that what they're doing is correct, but then the manga forces them to realize, I was doing things the wrong way. The protagonist of Jagaaaaaan does this a lot. He has a lot of introspection, wondering if what he's doing is the right thing, and at times coming to terms with the fact that his desires are evil, and that he's not truly a hero. And so, again, Jagaaaaaan is able to cover a lot of themes that all beautifully connect with the plot of the story. The plot in and of itself is also quite intriguing, despite sounding extremely wacky. And then you have the fight scenes. The fight scenes in Jagaaaaaan are amazing. They are so dynamic. I'm not going to say it's on par with One Punch Man, but I think it's near that tier. Jagaaaaan's fights are always fully dynamic, extremely entertaining. The artwork in Jagaaaaaan is absolutely beautiful. And to be honest, if I had to recommend someone who usually reads shonen a lot and is considering getting into their first seinen, Jagaaaaaan would probably be, if not, it would be the very first one I'd recommend to that person. Now, currently, I am on chapter 95, but yet I'm so sure about what I've read so far, I just wanted to give my recommendation now as I continue to enjoy this manga. This is great. There's a lot of different moments of climax, tension, and what I love too is when it comes to the antagonistic forces in the series, is they throw a lot of curveballs at you. As soon as you think you understand this antagonist and what's going to happen, Jagaaaaaan completely hits a switch, and what you'd come to expect completely throws you off. For those of you that have read Jagaaaaaan, I'm specifically referring to the fight that happens around chapter 70. I absolutely did not expect the backstory of the antagonists to be the way it was, and the emotional strings it was able to pull was it was perfection. I loved it. It's a manga that has pretty grotesque and I would say very weird imagery when it comes to its monsters and creatures and the way that it tries to present certain themes, but yet it gets the message across clearly. It's not disturbing enough to the point where the message behind this character isn't clear, nor is it off-putting or just completely unnecessary at times. For the most part, every single thing that happens in Jagaaaaaan is for a reason, regardless of how disgusting it might be. But what I truly like is, despite the imagery it does have, again, like I said, similar to a Gantz and all that, I really like how the plot has not lost interest. It is constantly expanding the possibilities, and a lot of the side characters are also really, really cool. There is one side character, actually my favorite character in the entire show, who ends up showing up later, and he has a really cool power where he's able to like harden his skin. I think that character is absolutely great. And so Jagaaaaaan as a story is one that has lots of different minor plot points that can be intriguing and can get a laugh out of you, can get you intrigued in that character and invested in that character as well, whilst also keeping focus on the big plot line that exists with our protagonist. Overall, it's just one that's extremely action-packed. It's thrilling, it's compelling, it's dynamic, it has themes, it also has great introspective philosophy, something that I like to see from my protagonists. And the reason I really bring all of this up is to really drive the point that everything that happens in Jagaaaaaan is really for a reason. Every person that our protagonist, Jagaaaaaan, ends up fighting is, at the end of the day, it's a reflection of himself. It's almost as if the best that Homunculus had to offer in terms of its themes and reflection of the protagonist and who the protagonist meets is kind of done better in Jagaaaaaan and interests me a lot more. That's completely subjective, but I don't really have that many criticisms when it comes to Jagaaaaaan. I do have one, however, and this one kind of breaks into a few. And it's that, like I brought up earlier, it reminds me a lot of Gantz. And part of that is a lot of the female characters within the series, pretty much all of them, all except I'd say maybe like one or two are just there because boobies. Like a lot of them are painfully one-dimensional and you would think there'd be more to their character, but there isn't. Even the ones that are more central to the story. And I wouldn't really point it out, but the story goes as far as to give them more attention than just a few panels. And so that kind of leads into the bigger point, which is Jagaaaaaan does incorporate some things that, again, you have seen before. Like I said, that in and of itself isn't a criticism, because this doesn't really apply to the bigger portion of the story, but there are things when it comes to the side plot lines that are just a bit unnecessary. And honestly, if you took them out of the manga, it wouldn't really make a difference. And so I bring that up because whilst although it is the first seinen I would recommend someone, most if not all seinens do have certain things that can be a little bit disturbing for more sensitive minds. But other than those minor things, I don't really have any more complaints about the manga at all. This is a manga I would definitely recommend to you. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, that way you're notified whenever a new video pops up on some of your favorite anime, manga, or whatever content. As always, this has been The Masked Man. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.